All right, welcome back in. It is time to talk some college basketball here. It is known as Feast Week, and boy, we got a couple of pretty good games out of Maui last night, did we not? My goodness. Well, the fun continues here today, and a couple of great standalone games that we're going to break down here, guys, as we've got Colorado, Michigan State, Clemson taking on San Francisco, Auburn, Iowa State, and then, of course, we have Kansas taking on Duke in a standalone spot out in Nevada. So this should be a pretty fun day across the board as we welcome in the one and only Double R1L Steve Merrill, as well as the legendary Penn Ralph Michaels in the house. Gentlemen, Houston, Bama, Kansas at Duke, Auburn at North Carolina. Those are the games we're going to focus on. And let's start with that Houston and Alabama game, because I know a lot of folks are looking forward to this one here. Of course, we've already seen Houston lose a game. And Bama, boy, talk about two different styles, Merrill, right? There's one team wants to play defense and suffocate you. The other team wants to run up and down the court. What gives in this one with Houston and Alabama, in your opinion?
Yeah, as both you and Ralph know, this is how I handicap college basketball in a nutshell. Is I look for pace mismatches. You know, there's 364 Division I teams this year, and they basically put lines up on all those games every day. And the one advantage we have as a sports bettor is we can kind of sit back and pick and choose. And this one obviously makes my short list automatically when I see a tempo mismatch like this. So then we dig a little bit deeper and see if we can find some reasons to play it. And first of all, in general, you look to play the slower team against the faster team. I think it's very tough to speed up a slow team, whereas it's easier to slow down a fast team because you can just basically walk the ball up the court and get back on defense and make the faster team like Alabama get in a half-court set. And Houston's had some success doing this over the years, and Alabama has struggled against teams like Houston. We look at the ratings last year. You know, I talked about this with Adam Trigger a few weeks ago. I think it was Adam. It was either Adam or Brian. No, Brian Leonard. I'm sorry. It was Brian Leonard who's very big on Alabama. I think he has them as a Final Four team, and the talent is there, but my concern, I said, was that, you know, their defense wasn't even the top 100 efficiency defense last year when all was said and done. And if you look at those top 20 teams at the end of the season, boy, that really jumps out to you because almost everyone else is top 20, top 30, and Bama was on the outside looking in. Now we look this year, the third most efficient offense, but they're only 49th defense, 9th fastest team. And then we look at the Houston Cougars, 6th offense, 2nd defense, 348th slowest team. I think in a big high-profile matchup like this, I'd rather have the better D and the slower team. I also think Houston and the under are somewhat correlated in this game, whereas if you like Alabama, you probably lean over. So while I'm not a big parlay guy, I always say the one time you can use parlays is when side total are correlated. Houston under or Alabama over makes a lot of sense in this game.
Oh, I like it. How about you, Ralph? How do you see this one going? Because, boy, it should be a fun one here, but the number scaring a few people off. What are you thinking?
Well, to me, it's easy. We know Oates at Alabama is going to be a top 10 tempo team. We know they're going to be a top 30 team as far as the number of three-point shots they shoot. You know, you got off to wins against Asheville, Arkansas State, McNeese State, and you started 1-2 ATS. I actually have only used a few college basketball games so far this year. One of my plays was fading Alabama when they played on their first true road game going to Purdue. But the number that jumps out to me is, you know, Bama, number 9 in tempo, again, as Steve said, and while they shoot 46.5% of their shots from three-point, they are only making 30.8%. That is number 248 in college basketball. Houston, three-point defense is top 40 in the league. They're the number 2 most efficient D. And oh yeah, by the way, they're number 1 in the country in three-point offense. It's easy for me. Houston's offense is in sync. Houston's defense is in sync. Bama's three-point shooting has not impressed me, and now they're up against one of the best defenses, if not the best defense in college basketball. Color me the Cougars.
Going with the Cougars here today. All right, love it. Big shout out to those of you guys joining us in the chat room today on this Tuesday for Feast Week. That was Houston and Alabama. If you happen to have a game you want to hear these guys talk about, go ahead, drop it in the chat room here. Don't forget to hit the like button as well as the subscribe button and become part of the WagerTalk TV family. Let's pivot to another big game coming up here, guys. This one, Kansas at Duke. And at first glance, Merrill, you got a Kansas team that ranked, what, number 1, it looks like, in the country. But wait a minute. They're getting points against Duke here. Something seems strange, but is it really in this one here? Is the right team favored, in your opinion?
Well, once again, I think tempo is going to be very important in this game. You've got a Kansas team that year after year prefers more up-tempo style, and of course they kind of got that against North Carolina when they played earlier this season. But even then, they gave up 89 points in that game. They had to score 92 to win. They played a little bit of a slower team in Michigan State. They did beat them by 8 as a 6-point favorite. But this is a step up in class for them now against what I think is a very underrated Duke defense. In fact, if you look at the KenPom rankings, they're the most efficient defense in the country. Now, I talked about Houston is number 2. Well, Duke is actually number 1. So back-to-back games here, we've talked about the 2 best defensive teams in the country in Houston and Duke. Always hard to fade a good defense in a high-profile game. Meanwhile, Kansas comes in 14th defense, 13th offense, very balanced, but Duke is 15th offense. So these are 2 really good teams. What people kind of forget is now that Coach K's been gone for a few seasons, Duke plays a little bit slower. They are a little bit more of an up-tempo team under Coach K. They're in the bottom half usually of the tempo, and they're 221 so far this season, where Kansas is 90th. So once again, you've got a slower down defensive team in Duke against more of an up-tempo team in Kansas. You know, once again, I don't recommend parlays, but the theme of this show here is side total correlated parlays. Duke under, Kansas over would be the way I'd approach this.
Yeah, I mean, Ralph, it's an interesting matchup here, and I don't think Duke's getting enough credit for how good they are defensively. They just won a game out west in Arizona with suffocating defense. KenPom's got them rated higher here than Kansas in a lot of aspects. I mean, what gives here? Do you think Bill Self and Kansas neutral site game? But again, Duke's already been out west here. What do you think we're going to get from them here?
Yeah, going MGM Grand in Las Vegas or maybe T-Mobile. It's one of them. They've got games in both of them today. What a time to be in Vegas to watch some college basketball. To me, this is the eye test game of the night, and it's simply this. You know, I look at Duke and their defense is absolutely amazing. I am so impressed. They held Kentucky to 40.3% shooting. They held Arizona under 40% shooting. And oh yeah, by the way, KenPom has those 2 offenses, number 11 and number 33. Now you say, well, look, they lost to Kentucky. That was a bad loss. But if you dive into the box score, you have a definite outlier in that game. Duke shot 4 of 24 from three-point land. You, me, and Steve might make 4 3-point shots shooting up 24 in a college basketball game. So that's the perfect situation where I think there's value. You know, had Duke beaten Kentucky, they would clearly be the number 1. A lot of public people look at those AP polls and they put way too much stock in them, where we know the more legitimate rating is either the KenPom rating or the Vegas ATS line. To me, it's simple. I do love this Duke team, and they are deep. You know, you're looking at they go 8 deep, and they are just rotating players, and they're continue to playing a suffocating defense, and that's even with them forcing a lot of turnovers. Kansas is a team that doesn't turn the ball over. You know, they have a North Carolina win at home, a Michigan State win in a neutral setting. Hunter Dickinson has a chance to be the player of the year. But again, this to me is an eye test game. Current form with Duke and their defense gives them the clear edge. And, you know, Kansas beat Howard in the first game, but they're 1-3 ATS their last 3 games. The only game they covered against Michigan State, they covered by 2 points, and they only shot 41% in that game. It's easy for me. Early in the season, better team, better defense, Duke gets it done.
Yeah, Duke is, they're a favorite for a reason here, and my goodness, they are deep, and that defense is going to be very interesting here for Kansas to see if the depth and KJ Adams can limit what Flagg and everyone else wants to do. Knipple and that team. Duke is a very dangerous team, and I think that's going to be on display here tonight for sure in Vegas as another one of these tournaments underway here for Feast Week. And we've got another one out in Maui here, which is going to pit two teams we just watched give us one of the most epic first days at the Maui Invitational, Merrill. North Carolina last night taking on Dayton. Unbelievable comeback by them. But Auburn, same situation here against Iowa State. Unbelievable second-half comeback by them. I was kind of shocked Dayton wanted to make it a track meet last night against North Carolina. I know for a fact that Auburn won't have a problem doing just that, but after both of these teams had to empty the gas tanks, what's left in this game here tonight?
Well, the sharp money likes the over, and it's not a surprise. I believe North Carolina's gone over in every game this season. They're a perfect 5-0 to the over this year in their 5 games. Auburn's gone over in 3 of the 5. So combined, these two teams are 8-2, 80% over the total this year. And this total has gone from 164 up to 167. I don't disagree. The over would be the way I would play it as well. I do have concerns, though. First of all, it's a huge total. And as you said, Joe, both teams played track meets last night. Could the legs be a little tired for shooting? But it also could show on the defensive end if you're fatigued. You're a step slow. Yep. And North Carolina doesn't rely on the 3 as much as Auburn does. Auburn takes 27 threes a game. So maybe they are more comfortable slowing North Carolina down, but it's really tough to slow North Carolina down. They play at the 6th fastest tempo in the country, and they are really good offensively, 5th-rated offense, but only 53rd on defense. And here Auburn is top 10 both offense and defense. So it's a tough call here. You've got the better defensive team as a dog in Auburn, or actually as a favorite, but they also rely on the 3 more. So if their legs are a little tired, that concerns you. I like the over here. If I'm going to play this, I'm looking at the total. And until I see otherwise, it's over or pass in North Carolina games this season.
It's kind of hard to sweat out an under in this one here, Ralph. I mean, Merrill's right. 2 teams that can shoot it. We know the tempo for North Carolina is certainly going to be there, but Bruce Pearl's team this year, my goodness, pretty darn good. The question is, I'm seeing 4. And it hasn't done a whole lot of movement. I'm still seeing 4s across the board here for Auburn. Is it dog or pass, or who do you like in this one, and how would you approach it?
You know, I consider myself a smart person, but a smart person doesn't regularly disagree with Steve Merrill's. But I am disagreeing with Steve Merrill here, and I like the under, and I think it's a pretty tricky situation. You look at North Carolina and you look at Auburn. North Carolina's defense number 53, Auburn's defense number 9. When you look at Ken Palm's tempo ranks, North Carolina is number 6. Auburn is number 135. But that's because they press the pace on offense. When you look at the defensive tempo, these defenses pick up half court. They slow the game up. They do not allow fast breaks. Auburn's defensive tempo is number 352. North Carolina's defensive tempo is number 321. I think these teams aren't going to be able to play as fast as they want. These defenses are established, solid, tall, long, and they can stop the fast breaks. When I went to the database, November teams that both won and are playing with 0 rest, 16 overs, 39 unders. That is 71% to the under, and those games are going under by 9 points per game. You'll have a toss-up. Agree with Steve in the over or me with the under. We'll see what happens.
Oh, boy, it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be a great game for sure tonight in the Maui Invitational that has just been delivering on day 1 here. But day 2, there's another game that we'll get to here that I'm seeing floating around in the chat rooms. And that, of course, is going to be Michigan State taking on Memphis. Memphis, of course, in overtime, pulls out the upset over UConn. UConn, for their troubles, gets to take on a Colorado team that is, well, sucks in so many different ways. and got absolutely demolished by Michigan State yesterday. Michigan State missed its first 14 three-point attempts and still won by 1 trillion yesterday against Colorado. Now Michigan State has got to take on a Memphis team that, I'll ask you again, Merrill, what the hell do they have left in the tank after it feels like they laid it all out there to beat UConn, and yet Michigan State and Izzo kind of had that was a walk in the park there. What are we going to get from Memphis and Michigan State, do you think?
Yeah, once again, I'll talk about the three-point shooting. If you're worried about tired legs, this Memphis team is hitting 48% of their three-pointers this season. Boy, if you're due to come back down to earth, you figure maybe it happens tonight, and then you flip it, like you just said, Joe. Michigan State not shooting the three well in the season. Michigan State is shooting 20% from beyond the arc, 20% on the season, and they're still 5-1 straight up. You could be the worst three-point shooting team in the country, and you're going to hit better than 20%. And Michigan State is not the worst three-point shooting team in the country. So there's a ton of upside there. And I think nobody's going to hit 48% from three, and Memphis is going to regress. So, hey, look, if you're trying to time the regression, that's a tricky thing. But you could definitely make a case here, back-to-back, no-rest situation. Memphis may be the more fatigued team, that this could be the spot those things start to even out. So if that's the case, Michigan State -2 might be the way to play it. Once again, sharp money, at least the early money coming in on the over here, open 150. Up to 152.5, 153. Wouldn't disagree with that because I think Michigan State can put some points up here, but the side might be the safer play.
Yeah, I mean, Ralph, they won by 16 yesterday, Michigan State. They had one player in double digits, double figures, like one. So, and they still won by 16. So, Izzo has been here and done this before with this team. My fear with Memphis is they have those three great guards. And then what? They appear to be a very 5-6 person team, and the bench is nowhere to be found. This is a tough spot coming right back against Michigan State, isn't it?
Yeah, I just want to take a look at the box scores. Memphis against Connecticut. Remember, that game went to overtime as well. So Not only do you have that situation, Michigan State, only 5 players, played more than 20 minutes. No one played more than 26 minutes. You look at Memphis. Hunter played 40 minutes. Rogers played 39 minutes. Haggerty played 37 minutes. That, to me, is the big discrepancy here and why I lean Michigan State. Now, these are young kids, and back-to-back games doesn't always, make you struggle the second game. But I think Memphis is in a letdown situation against beating a UConn team that's been a multinational championship in overtime. And that's coming off a win against San Francisco. That was a close game with only a 4-point win in that game. They did cover that game. I don't have much of an opinion on this game, Joe. So I am going to lean Michigan State, but I'm going to take 1 second. Since Memphis is one of those teams that is a perfect 5-0 ATS this year, I just want to run down those teams so far that are perfect against the spread. Rio Grande Valley is a perfect 6-0 against the spread. And 5-0 ATS, Idaho State, Missouri State, Oregon State, Purdue, Fort Wayne, and Utah are perfect 5-0. 2 teams are 0-6 ATS, Louisiana Lafayette and Duquesne. 2 teams are 0-5 ATS, that's Pennsylvania and Grand Canyon. So that just gives you some of the tops and bottoms. With the scheduling spot and the amount of players that played certain minutes last night, I will just give the slightest of leans to Michigan State.
All right, slight lean to Michigan State there. We'll get a couple of best bets out of these guys coming up. Don't forget, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you're joining us here today, we certainly appreciate it as Feast Week is upon us in college basketball. Love these matchups here today. And Merrill, what do you got lock loaded, ready to roll here on this big week? Obviously, NFL games coming up on Thursday, action tonight, but of course, plenty of NBA and college basketball as well. Tell us what you got going on and drop us a best bet here tonight.
Yeah, first of all, reminder, there's not as many live shows because Thursday's kind of off for everybody at WagerTalk.com, but there's a ton of free play videos still. In fact, I have both Tuesday night MAC football games free for you on the channel right now. Just recorded all 3 NFL Thursday night games. Also going to have the Thursday night college game and the Friday game on Prime. In fact, my Thursday night NFL record is 9-1. So I'm putting that on the line so far in those free plays with all 3 Thanksgiving games. So click subscribe, click the bell for an instant alert here when these videos go live each and every day this week. And speaking of this week, it is probably the best 7-day span of sports to bet all season long. College and pro football, college and pro basketball. And right now, get 7 days and nights for just $69. Normally it's $99, but we're having our Thanksgiving special this week. All cappers at WagerTalk. You can get multiple cappers. It's not limited, and there's no promo code needed. Get the next 7 days and nights of all sports for just $69. That works out to less than $10 a day, just $2.50 per sport per day, because I'm doing 4 different sports on a daily basis. Check that out, 7-day sampler. I do have 2 strong college basketball best bets going tonight on Tuesday, and tons more football and basketball this week. And oh, by the way, buried the lead. It's $5 Tuesday. So if you want just one play tonight, get the $5 best bet for multiple cappers. But if you want 7 days of action, get the 7-day sampler for just $69. Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com. And I'm going to go back to a game we just touched on here. I like Michigan State the more I look at this game because of several reasons. First of all, the no-rest situation definitely favors them. They played less minutes, as we discussed. Memphis also is an up-tempo team coming off the overtime. But the more I look at this three-point shooting, 48% on the season, no wonder why Memphis is a perfect 5-0 straight up in ATS. Hey, look, if they hit 48% after overtime with no rest, more power to them. I don't think that's going to happen. Michigan State's allowing just 28.5% from 3 this year, and they're shooting just 20% from beyond the arc, and they're still 5-1 straight up. Reversion of the mean begins tonight. I think we're going to get some value with Michigan State -2.
Michigan State -2 for a best bet. How about you, Ralph? Locked and loaded, $5 Tuesday here at Wager Talk. And what are you looking at for a best bet?
Again, Steve mentioned it, $5 Tuesday today. I do have a college football play loaded, $69 for any capper at Wager Talk. It's our way of saying thank you for being a Wager Talk customer. And I just want to give a quick reach out to all of our viewers. Please have a happy and safe Thanksgiving, especially if you're traveling. Take care on the roads. Joe, I know you scolded me last week. I used a best bet, and the team was like ranked in the top 100. And you said, what the hell are you doing? You need to give out games that are 300 or higher. So I went to the Leathernecks of Western Illinois, which Ken Palm has at number 329 against South Alabama. Steve talked about tempo. This is easy, guys. Tempo for Western Illinois, number 351. Tempo for South Alabama, number 307. When a team like South Alabama is a double-digit favorite with no rest, those teams have gone 24 and 47 over-under. That is 66.3% to the under. Give me under in the Leathernecks and Jaguars tonight from Mobile, Alabama.
All right, get it done there, guys. Plenty of great games on board here tonight. Feast week is underway. And, of course, $5 Tuesday, as you heard from the guys, opportunities to make it a very profitable Tuesday here as we get ready for Thanksgiving. And, of course, conference play will be here before we know it. All right, I gave out for you guys yesterday. I told you, I don't know why they keep making Minnesota a double-digit favorite. We took the 13.5 points there with Central Michigan, and, well, sure enough, Minnesota didn't cover again last night. They barely got away with that game last night and barely got the win. Tonight, I'm going to go with a very well-rested San Diego State Aztecs team who got a bit of good news here because Ashworth listed as doubtful for Creighton with an ankle injury, which is now means that San Diego State can focus all their attention on Kalkbrenner and let somebody else try to beat them. Good luck with that, though. I think getting 4.5 points, probably not a bad way to look here as San Diego State. We know one thing about them. They're going to bring some defense here, and defense is exactly what Creighton will be in for here tonight. So laying more in a couple of buckets, not all that impressed there with Creighton at this point, especially with Ashworth out. So San Diego State for me plus the 4.5 points. Don't forget to hit that like button. Drop, of course, a comment below. Let us know what your favorite game is. Make sure, though, that you guys have a very happy and safe Thanksgiving. Of course, we'll be back for another edition of the college basketball tip-off show, as well as the college football kickoff show on Friday. But until then, guys, have a safe and happy Thanksgiving. NBA tip-off show coming up in about 45 minutes. We will see you then. Good luck. Enjoy it. Gobble, gobble, guys. We'll see you again soon.